Welcome everyone to the Kentucky Kid. I'm your host Kelly Berry. Thank you for joining us this week. Many storylines to come out of the world of sports this week, particularly out of the Big Blue Nation. We haven't talked about them for a while, at least nothing positive that is, so time to throw in some positives for all the UK faithful out there. First off, some big names coming back next year in Willie Cauley-Stein and Alex Poythress. Now, I thought that all of the freshmen were going to go to the NBA this year. I thought they were all capable of getting good draft picks, but I thought the one guy that could improve his draft stock by coming back next year would be Willie Cauley-Stein. He's got some potential. He can finish around the rim, he can erase shots on the other end, he can rebound on both ends very well, but he can't shoot a free throw to save his life, and he sucks more wind than a tornado blowing through the Midwest plains of Kansas after about 15 to 20 minutes of play. He's got a chance to improve his draft stock with another solid season at UK next season. But then Alex Poythress decided he was coming back too. This was a shocker to me. Like, this guy could have been a lottery pick, and it's hard for anybody to decline getting millions and millions of dollars to come back and play another year of college ball. But I got to thinking about Terrence Jones, and there are a lot of comparisons between these two players. Terrence Jones' freshman year, he had a lot of potential, he had a lot of athleticism, but for whatever reason, he really just did not want to play the game. He didn't. And Alex Poythress is the same way. He's a big body, he's got great speed, great finishing ability, can guard both out on the perimeter and in the post, but for whatever reason, he really did not seem to apply himself this season as effectively as he could have. I think he has the potential to be a great player. And another year of college might just allow him to apply himself effectively and get a very, very high draft stock for next season. As surprising as these two stories might have been, Ryan Harrow transferring and Archie Goodwin declaring for the draft is equally unsurprising. Ryan Harrow's dad has been sick and has been for a long time, and he wanted to be closer to him, and so he decided to transfer down to Georgia State. I can buy that story. I can buy that as a reason for a transfer. I can't buy that as the only reason. Look, Ryan Harrow knew two things. One, he wasn't going to get drafted in the NBA that highly. And number two, he probably wasn't going to get much playing time behind the Harrison twins at UK next season. So transfer out, transfer to a smaller school, be the face of that program, get a lot of playing time, and maybe sneak into the NBA draft next year. I think it's a great move for him. I think it's a great move for everyone involved. UK is going to have a loaded team next year. The Harrison twins are coming. Julius Randle's coming. Willie Cauley-Stein's back, as is Poythress. That's a nice starting five, and then you have the sixth man of the year in the SEC in Kyle Wiltshire coming off the bench again. But speaking of the NBA draft, perhaps the most interesting storyline this week comes from Mark Cuban when he said that he would consider drafting Brittney Griner in the second round of the NBA draft. Now, I've been a fan of Cuban's publicity stunts in the past, and there's probably nothing more than that here. But let's contemplate this situation for just a second. Could Griner play in the NBA? She can finish around the rim, she can block shots, she can rebound, and defend well in the interior. The main doubt I have is physical limitations. She's 6'8" and weighs only 203 pounds. She's 2 inches shorter than the average NBA center, and weighs about the same as the average NBA shooting guard. She would get dominated in every physical facet of the game, which is something that you have to have in order to play in the post in the NBA. Now, Kurt Rambis was asked if he was a coach in the NBA, and he was several years ago, and the GM said that he was interested in drafting Brittney Griner to play on their team. He'd be willing to have her try out in summer leagues. But when asked if he would be willing to invite her to training camp, his response was, quote, "That's not happening." Speaking of Brittney Griner, how about the team that beat them? Louisville is having a great athletic year in a lot of different sports. Their football team won the Sugar Bowl. Their basketball team, men's and women's, is in the Final Four. Only the 10th time that has ever happened where a school has put both men's and women's basketball teams into their respective Final Fours. And how about the path that the Louisville Lady Cardinals have taken to get here? They handle Middle Tennessee in the opening round, then pull a slight 5-4 seed upset over Purdue. Now, it was widely accepted in the Sweet 16, whoever won that game between Louisville and Purdue was just going to get crushed by Baylor. Everybody had. But then Louisville decides that they're going to go out and beat the #1 team in the country. Then they beat powerhouse Tennessee. They're in the Final Four. They're going to play Cal for a chance to play in the championship game. Meanwhile, on the men's side, how about Russ Smith? The dude has played out of his mind, scoring 104 points in the tournament so far. Do the math, that's 26 points a game. If you had told Rick Pitino that Russ Smith would have scored north of 25 a game on average in the tournament so far, I think he would take it. One thing he would not take is the injury to Kevin Ware. What a nasty, nasty injury that was. If you haven't seen it, just look it up on YouTube, type in Kevin Ware, and it's the first thing that pops up. But there's been an interesting debate, not about the injury itself, but the way in which CBS handled it. CBS was airing the game and only chose to show the injury live and replay it one time. Now, I've seen a lot of gruesome injuries over my athletic career. I really don't mind that much seeing somebody's bone sticking out of their leg. It's not going to bother me a whole lot. But I also recognize that college basketball is one of the rare things that a wide range of ages still view on a regular basis. You have 3- and 4-year-old kids watching this show, watching this game. Do you really want to show them a dude's bones sticking out of his leg over and over and over again? Probably not a good idea. You don't want to give them nightmares. You don't want to scare them out of potentially playing the game that they love just because of one dude's nasty fall. I thought CBS did an admirable job in their decision to only show it live and only replay it once. And for the stronger among us, YouTube is there. But back to the men's team for a second. The team has been on a roll this year. They won their opening round game of the NCAA tournament by 31, a round that saw fellow #1 seeds Kansas and Gonzaga struggle and nearly lose. They dominated a solid Colorado State team by 26 and utterly crushed Duke in the second half in the Elite Eight game. That game was tied at 42, and with 15:50 to go, you're looking at a tied game, and then the final score is 85-63. Again, do the math, that is a 43-21 run over the last 15:50 of the game against a very, very good Duke team. That's solid. So the Final Four is set. Wichita State plays Louisville, and while I think the Cardinals have the capacity to dominate the Shockers, this is not a team to be taken lightly. This team has knocked off powerhouses Gonzaga and Ohio State en route to their first Final Four in nearly 50 years. And I don't think this team is going to play with anything other than extreme passion. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And remember, teams like VCU and George Mason both made it to the Final Four recently, both playing with absolutely nothing to lose, both playing knowing that they weren't expected to be here. Wichita State's going to be the exact same. And those kinds of teams can be very dangerous. I think U of L ends this Cinderella story because Russ Smith can score at will. Gorky Zhang will dominate the post, and look for guys like Shane Behanan to really be X factors in this game. The other game in the Final Four I think is going to be a lot closer between Michigan and Syracuse. All you have to do to beat a 2-3 zone like Syracuse is either A, shoot over it, or B, drive into it. Shots will be available, but so far nobody's been able to beat them. I think Michigan can. Trey Burke has been on fire. Did you see that shot that he hit against Kansas to send that game into overtime? I mean, he was all the way back in Michigan when he shot that, about 30 feet away. But I think this game may be won or lost in the trenches. One thing I am sure that even Coach Beilein did not expect has been the play of Mitch McGary. During the regular season, he averaged 7.4 points and 6.2 rebounds a game. Not bad for a guy coming off the bench, but not great either. In the tournament, book him for 19.5 points and 10.8 rebounds. If there is a team that can down the Cuse, I think Michigan can. They can dominate inside and out. And that's what you need to break a zone, or any defense for that matter. Plus, I just really don't want to see Louisville and Syracuse play for the 4th time this season. Just as expected, this year's tournament has been filled with upsets and special stories. Florida Gulf Coast, VCU, LaSalle, Ole Miss, I could name countless others. But did I not call the Michigan Final Four? I think I did. I might just gloat in that for a moment. But I'm really looking forward to the Final Four this year. This will be as good as advertised, if not better. That's going to do it for this week. Watch some ball, and until next time, God bless.